So I have mixed feelings about Mother, but one thing I'll say for it is its portrayal of God was completely unique. I've never seen anything like it before. We always think of God as stern and all-powerful. This movie depicted him as forgiving to a fault, very insecure, addicted to creation, and addicted to love and worship to an extent. And it was fascinating how it portrayed the relationship of God to Mother Earth and to the creative forces as almost an abusive relationship. So here's the idea. Javier Bardem is God. He creates the earth, Jennifer Lawrence, and it's beautiful. It's a wonderful creation, and they're living happily and peacefully. But then God gets sad because he hasn't created in a little while. He feels like he's got a bit of a writer's block. So he creates Ed Harris, who is Adam. And Jennifer Lawrence immediately is unhappy about this. She says, why do you need this? We had such a beautiful creation. And he says, look, I need his pain as inspiration. He's my muse. I got to use him to get the creative juices flowing. Then God takes the rib from Adam, Ed Harris, and you see the wound, and uses it to create Eve, who you see come into the house the next day. And Michelle Pfeiffer killed this role. Maybe it was just because she's compared to, let's say, a more wooden Jennifer Lawrence, but she's so mischievous. I thought she just killed Eve, and that's a tough role to pull off. So Jennifer Lawrence tells Eve, look, there's one room you can't go into, and one crystal in particular I don't want you to touch. And this is symbolic of the forbidden fruit in the Garden of Eden. What's interesting is it's Jennifer Lawrence forbidding this, not God. And you start to see this different portrayal of God. Anyways, Michelle Pfeiffer, Eve, smashes the crystal and then has sex with Ed Harris on the couch. So this is symbolic of eating the fruit, and then they know sin and nudity and start having sex. And then the brothers Cain and Abel show up, and they fight. What's interesting is they fight over Adam's inheritance. They don't fight over God preferring the sacrifice of one to the other, but regardless, one gets killed, and then they have this wake for the brother. And then at this wake, things just get out of control, and a bathtub breaks, and there's a flood, and this is symbolic of the flood. And it's interesting, we always think of the flood as caused by God because he was angry at the wickedness of humans. This portrays it as more a reaction the earth has to being abused and mistreated. So things settle down at this point, and eventually Javier Bardem, he creates this new work that people are really excited about. And this work, I think it's symbolic of the Bible, the New Testament, Jesus Christ. Some people say Jesus Christ comes in later. I think he comes in right here. People get really excited about this new creation of God, but then that excitement turns to this fanaticism and this devotion that starts to get out of control. You start to see people using this new creation to justify their own violence, and we see things start to spin out of control into this hellish environment. And what I'll say, I think an underrated aspect of this movie is it's easy for a director to want to aestheticize everything and make everything look good. But when he's depicting this hellish thing that's supposed to represent how horrible the world is right now, you don't want to aestheticize that and put it in cinematography, really beautiful terms. You want to depict it as disorientating and an unpleasant movie watching experience, which it really was. And you get this great line where someone's destroying the house and Jennifer Lawrence says, why are you doing this? And he says, to prove we were here. And it's symbolic of how humans, in their desire to want to create some kind of permanent mark that outlives them, that's what creates the ambition and the consumption that ironically destroys the very earth they're trying to leave this permanent mark on. And then we get to the part where the people are eating the baby of God and Mother Earth, and I think it's just symbolic of how what started as people loving the creations of God, eventually, because humans are flawed, it gets twisted and comes full circle to people destroying those very same creations. While still claiming, I might add, to believe in God, and maybe even believing themselves that they still love God, they love his creations, they just don't realize what they're doing. And then Jennifer Lawrence burns the whole house down with oil, so people are saying that relates to fossil fuels and global warming, and it's just interesting how it seems like the earth, to get rid of the people that are causing such harm, is willing to completely destroy itself. And then we realize that the movie started with the house being destroyed by fire, so we've just kind of come full circle, and we realize that the only one that realizes that we have these cycles is God. Each time Mother Earth gets created, she thinks she's the first creation. Each time humans get created, they think they're the first creation. The only one who realizes just how many times the cycles repeated itself is God.